scared me. What's going on?
I was pretty on time that time. One of the worst traps you can fall into while writing your film or series is to structure your plot around certain moments. By making your plot moment-centric as opposed to character-centric, it can make your story feel like it meanders too much, or it can make your characters seem inconsistent. And while there are times where it works, like with the episode Deathstroke for example, Seeing Red is a great example of how a moment-centric plot can harm your story more than helping it. The more you try to think about Mirakuru, the less sense that it makes. We never see Slade go through a phase of him being completely silent and just beating on people, nor do we hear about it from any of the members of his army, or from the people Blood was experimenting on earlier in the season. Also, the vision of Thea that Roy sees is completely contradictory to the vision of Shadow that's seen by Slade. Shadow eggs Slade on, pushing him in the direction of his revenge on Oliver. But why does Thea tell Roy to kill her and that she deserves to be punished? Roy loves Thea. If anything, she should be telling him to kill Oliver for making him break up with her. Why does Roy wait for Oliver and Sarah at the clock tower? He clearly doesn't have rational thought in this state, so how does he think to take the tactical advantage? It doesn't make sense. And by the end of the episode, he just suddenly gains lucidity again, but is still unable to fight the urge to try and kill. Why? How? Just a small explanation would be helpful. The idea of whether to kill Roy or not seems to come out of nowhere and only exists for this episode. I understand Oliver's stance a lot more than Sarah's, and not just because the plot wants me to side with Oliver. Oliver made the choice to kill Slade instead of trying to save him, and it came back to bite him in the ass. So now he's trying a different way, which is the motif of Oliver's character through the entire season. Sarah just wants to kill him because the writers need an excuse to split Oliver and Sarah up before the finale. And that sucks because Oliver and Sarah are really good for each other as a couple. I can blatantly see the hand of the author with this decision, and I don't like it. And another very obvious writing decision was Moira's death. While it is a nice moment, the episode is not subtle about leading up to it.
Oliver, I know.
Oh yeah, she's gonna die.
I could not be more proud.
Oh yeah, she's gonna die this episode. Really, the only comparison I can make is the deaths of the Crocs from Stargirl Season 3. That entire episode was structured around their death, and there's no subtlety to what's going to happen. So much so that I knew it would happen on my first viewing, right after the episode's first scene. But hey, props for referencing identity, I guess. While I know that there's a story purpose for Thea's continued outbursts at Moira and Oliver, it's a lot less understandable in this episode than the last one. I don't expect Thea to be over this secret being kept from her, because as I've stated before, it's not a dumb small secret, but it's hard to not be annoyed by her. One of the hardest aspects about scoring characterization is discerning the difference between whether something is in character versus whether a character is well written. For example, it's absolutely in character for Season 1 Laurel to be a petty little shit, but it doesn't make her a likable character. It's absolutely in character for the Flash's Cecile Horton to insert herself into everyone else's problems when they don't concern her, but it doesn't make her a likable character. And I find a similar issue with Thea here. Again, I understand there's a narrative purpose for Thea's actions in this episode, leading up to Moira's death, but that doesn't mean it's not bothersome. But for the character the episode really wants you to focus on, that being Moira, you can tell that she's written remarkably during both the present day and the flashbacks. You can really see that though her morals stayed the same, she acted on them in a much different way during the past than she does now, and how much she earned her redemption. It's just unfortunate that the final step in that redemption was her death. And I do mean unfortunate, since you could make an argument for Moira being Arrow's most consistently written character for 2 straight seasons. Outside of Moira's death, there's nothing visually striking here. The episode looks very average. This scream from Oliver gets reused. It's a different visual, but the same audio.
No! 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 No!
As much as I wasn't really feeling this episode, I can't deny how important it is. This is monumental in setting up the finale, but also setting up the worst received season of the entire show. It also closes the missing $2 million plot from last season's early episodes, which many people may have forgotten about. This feels like an episode that only exists because the network ordered 23. It just doesn't have the concrete writing of other, stronger episodes during the season. Even The Man Under the Hood had capital writing of the characters while still remaining important and entertaining. But that's not the case here. This episode is a major deal for the season, but it's not really all that great. Even with Moira's death, I honestly can't believe this is one of Arrow's highest rated episodes. The back half of the season feels like it's written with less of a point-by-point plot and is more focused on achieving these moments. There's a lot of emphasis put on Moira's death, the rise of Slade's army, and other things of that nature. And those moments land really well. But that's all they are. Moments. The episodes containing those moments need to stand on their own. And some of these episodes do not.
You possess true courage. I'm truly sorry. You did not pass that on to your son.